Hello, this is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. I am your host of this motivational and inspirational podcast. And today's tribe of Israel, Joseph. Joseph was the 11th son of Jacob or of Israel and the firstborn with Rachel. Now, as we all know the story, Jacob fell in love with Rachel, and that is whom he wanted to marry. However, their father kind of tricked him into being with Leah first, which was the oldest. And that did not set well with Jacob. We know the story that, Leah was the one that was able to give Jacob children first. And later down the line, Rachel's womb was open for her to give birth to two children, Joseph and Benjamin. But I'm working with Joseph, the 11th son, again, of Jacob, and the firstborn son of Rachel. Now, Joseph was the beloved one, but he was also hated by his brothers. Jacob gave Joseph a gift, a special gift. And as I was reading along, it was misinterpreted that he gave him a coat, but he gave him a coat of long sleeves. But it was referred to as many colors. So I was reading through where different theologians were kind of being, I won't say argumentative, but they had their own interpretations. One is saying many colors. The other one is saying that it was misinterpreted and meant long sleeve coat. But as we gathered, Joseph was given this coat by Jacob in regards of him showing favor to Joseph. His son was given the birthright, and this is the purpose of this coat, because this was, as he considered, his firstborn. Although we all know in the beginning that Leah gave birth to his first 6 sons, but he was not in love with Leah. He was in love with Rachel. And I believe this is my interpretation, and I'm going to clarify this. My interpretation. My belief is that because he loved Rachel so much, that he wanted to have this child with Rachel. The reasons why he gave Joseph that birthright is because technically in his mind he came from the woman that he loved the most. And again, this is my interpretation of this. Now, as we go along, the code indicated leadership of the family. And as I explained earlier on, birthrights is usually what child carries on the legacy of the father, and automatically is assumed it is the firstborn. But it does not always work out that way, as Esau and Jacob found out through their mother and father that Jacob was going to be the successor of Esau. And in this case, I believe this happened again. But it wasn't because of the lineage or who gave birth. It was the person that gave birth that he was in love with. And I truly believe that because it was Rachel, that this is why Joseph had this favor. Now, he was sold at the age of 17 to an Ishmaelite and from the Midianites, and this is found in Genesis 37 and 2. Joseph later became a vice regent, and I believe that's how they was pronouncing it, to Pharaoh. This is also found in Genesis 41 and 46. Joseph had the ability to interpret dreams of Pharaoh. So this is why Pharaoh took him in. And he foresaw the land being fruitful and multiplying, but he also saw a famine in the land as well. And because of this is the reasons why Pharaoh had taken Joseph in. Now, later down the line, Joseph did run into his family, again, his brethren, and he accused them of being spies, that they were being spies, that they were meaning or coming to do harm, and they had to prove that they were not there to do them any harm, that they were actually there to find food for their families. Well, he was later connected back with his family, his father, his brothers, and his sister at a later time. Now, as we all know, that a lot of times we give names to our children because we want to find out what their meaning of their name will be, and then we name them this. And Joseph's name means he will add, and I believe that was very fitting for him because he was an addition to Pharaoh. He allowed it to be food or source of grain available even during the times of famine. So this was very much fitting for Joseph. And I, found it very exhilarating to learn these things. Now, Joseph taught his followers how to forgive and to have mercy. Genesis 45 and 18. Because he had this aura about him that God found great favor in him. And he knew that this man was after his own heart. Now, we all know that jealousy can run in the family. Esau was jealous of Jacob, and the brothers of Joseph were jealous of him because he became leader, but he was next to the youngest in line of being a part of that clan or that family. Now, in Matthew 1 and 16, and this was very interesting because my son brought this to my attention as well. And so I am not going to ever take credit for this. But he asked me a question and it made me go back and research myself. He said, "Mom, is Joseph the same Joseph that married Mary that Jesus came forth?" And I said, "Very interesting question. Let me go research this." And I found the answer, Matthew 1 and 16. "And Jacob begat Joseph, the husband of Mary, and of whom was born Jesus, who is called the Christ," or called Christ. Now, if we remember his brother, which was a part of Leah's contribution of the family, that was the fourth son, which was Judah. And Jesus was born through the lineage of Judah. But as we look, here it is, his brother, who is the 11th son of Jacob, was married to Mary, who made sure that Jesus arrived without any harm. Now, God was going to make sure that Joseph was to keep Mary from being talked about, because that was God's seed that Mary was carrying. That wasn't Joseph's seed. It was God's seed. But he did not want Mary to be looked down upon or talked about bringing a child without a father. And so God made sure that Joseph went to Mary and took her in as his wife. Very, very exciting. This is so exciting to me because I never would have put that connection together had my son not asked me about this. And this is why the tribes of Israel was very essential to me to learn, because the connection is very important for me to understand. And a lot of times individuals will read the Bible and they don't have a clue as to what they're reading. And they feel like that these are all different people. And they're not. They're all the same individuals. It's just that we are not looking at the timelines as being close enough to make sense. But it does make sense now. And to know that Jesus was called the Lion of Judah, meaning he came from that generation or that tribe, but another tribe was married to his mother. Very exciting information. So today's tribe of Israel, Joseph, the 11th son of Jacob, the firstborn son with Rachel. This is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. You have yourself a wonderful and blessed day.